Today I want to talk about Speedy, who was the kitty cat that I loved the most. The neighbors across the street with the fancy big house are having yet another party in the evening. That's all the noise you're hearing through the open window. And you know what's weird? It's like, I don't know, something just like changed in me when I came here. It's like you just don't complain about stuff like that in Mexico. Like it's just normal. Like on the weekends, there's literally a parade coming down the street with like horns and loud, and I'm just like, it's cool. People setting off fireworks for no reason, dogs barking constantly, mariachi music, not all the time, just sometimes in the early mornings and the weekends, and it's actually not so bad. Like everything here is just very vibrant and full of life and beautiful. But yeah, just you guys get the authentic sounds of Mexico in my recordings now. So let's talk about Speeds. He was the kitty cat that I loved the most. He was my handsome son. And I don't know what it was with him. He was just born special. He was, I'd say he was the pick of the litter. He was the healthiest, happiest, smartest, most popular one in the bunch. Which is really cute because he had a twin sister. Him and his sister were the two pure black cats from the litter. And they were really, it was like, because it's weird because like I don't know if they were actually twins. That'd be interesting to look up. Remember if there are some twins that are born within a litter of cats. But yeah, she was the opposite of him. The two of them always clung together. As they got older, he would fight her and be bratty to her. But she always chased after him and watched out for him. And she was really the opposite. She was really cautious and timid and fearful. And it was the two of them together was just so cute. And yeah, Speedy, he went out one night and never came back, which happens a lot on the farm, on the prairie. There are coyotes making their presence known every single night, howling. They would howl out in the car yard. They would howl down by the barn. And I never saw them coming that close, but the cats would go out, and they would get distracted. You'd have all the mice and stuff coming out at night, and the cats would chase after them. If they were busy chasing a mouse, well, they wouldn't be paying attention to something that might be stalking them. And I suspect that's how most of them met their end. There's really not much else that could have happened to them. And I hate to think about it, but it's part of the circle of life. And I just came to accept it that because he lived the most full and beautiful life that he possibly could. He had the best life for a cat before he died or disappeared into the ether. And he had karma on that. I mean, he hunted, tortured, stalked, killed, and ate a lot of things. Full-grown birds, baby birds, gophers. He was the master gopher killer, and those things are vicious. They could get pretty big, and he was obsessed with killing these gophers and leaving them on the porch for me to find. It was pretty terrifying. One time, and this is really funny, we were using this really large frying pan to put food out for them. One time I came home, I had been out, I don't know, in the field or something, and there was a massive gopher dead, laid out in the frying pan. No, that was like the funniest thing. As soon as I saw that, I knew who did it. It was Speeds. He thought like a human, act like a human. He did so many strange things, but the fact that he took the gopher, which he thought of as food, and went and put it in the food dish as an offering, it felt really weird. As in, it was almost like he could understand something in a human sense. And you really kind of got that sense about him. I remember thinking it in my mind, and I never said it out loud, but I do remember David saying, he acts really strange. It's like it thinks he's a human. I was like, I know. Like, I noticed that too. Like, he was literally born in a barn. He didn't know anything about, like, humans eating at a table or, like, I don't know. He didn't see that kind of thing. But I remember when he got into the house for the first time, he, like, ran into the house, ran up to the table, jumped where I had just set the table for dinner, and sat in the chair right in front of the plate and just, like, looked around, like, sitting there expectantly, like he was going to be served. Like, it was very strange. That's weird behavior for a cat. And he knew how to be sneaky too, which was really funny. He got a taste of butter, and ooh, that was all it took. He became obsessed with trying to get the butter. Now, we would buy the good kind. We had the grass-fed butter. And, ooh, he loved that. And I'm trying to remember exactly what happened the one time. Oh, yeah, he used to go in the kitchen. And go up on the counter, and I would go and I'd tell him, get off the counter. I would teach, no, never go on the counter. And one day I had just put some butter on there like 15 minutes ago, and I had put it under like this heavy butter dish so they couldn't get into it. And I had let Speeds in the house. I let him in from time to time just so he'd be there. Usually he'd come and sit in front of the fire with me. And this time, I was kind of reading, and then I looked, and oh, he's gone. And I was like, and it was dead silent in the house, and you just had that feeling, and I'm like, oh no. No. So I went in the kitchen to go find him. And by the time I got there was like a little crack in the window, and the window was open. And it took like a little while for me to walk to the kitchen. And I walk in, and he's outside the window on the grass looking in at me with this kind of like weird expression, like, are you looking for me? And it was just like this weird defiant thing, because it was kind of like he was trying to be like, oh, I've been here all along. Meanwhile, I go and look, and he had figured out a way to quietly sneak into the butter. And I know that he heard me coming, quickly and very quietly ran and jumped out the window and tried to act like he was doing nothing. That was hilarious, because he was busted. And he had this little trick that he used to like doing to me, which was the cutest and most funny thing ever. This was, again, there was a point where Speedy and his sister lived in the house with us. We actually called his sister Boss, and it wasn't because she was the boss. Speedy was the boss. We called her Boss because it stood for BOS, brother of Speedy. She was Speedy's little, quiet, timid sidekick, the voice of reason on his shoulder, because he was reckless and really brave, and that's probably why he got taken. And we thought that his sister was a boy because she's pretty fluffy. She's a little bit fluffier, and we couldn't tell back then. And we assumed that she was a boy for so long, and she was so feminine. And I remember saying that, Boss, when we thought that she was a boy, I was like, he's a sensitive young man. He's not typical young man. Don't make fun of him. He's sensitive. That was my way of saying, yeah, he kind of acts like a chick. Turns out he was a chick. So, yeah, Speedy had this thing that he liked to do where if he was, like, near me and I forgot about him, like if he would go down, like, onto the ground near my feet or something, the moment I forgot about him, he would jump up quickly and be, like, right in my face. And he would do it really silently to kind of startle me. And I go, oh! And you could just tell he just loved that. He just loved getting that reaction out of me. And this is super funny and super cute, because there was one time when he had gone down on the floor, and I was like doing, probably typing or something. And I looked and I saw him, and I looked away, and I was thinking, oh, I want him to do that cute thing he does again, so I'm going to pretend that I forgot about him. So I was like trying to pretend, and of course he wouldn't do it. And so then I was trying to pretend, and then I just got busy, and then I actually did forget, and at that moment, that's when he jumped up and straddled me, which was really cute and funny. And another time, another cute story. I have so many cute stories about Speeds. I have him in one of my YouTube videos, and I hold him up to the camera, and he has a look on his face like a literal, like a psychopath. If he was a human, he would look like a psychopath or a serial killer or something. He just had this really intense Tom Cruise kind of look to his face. And he had that same kind of attitude, you know, he just didn't care. he just did what he wanted. And he was unapologetic about being the boss, about loving life. He refused to follow. You can see all the cats used to love following me when I go on walks. What did Speeds do? He always had to when he was in the house, if I got up to go somewhere, he would figure out where I was going. He would get there first before me. He would run ahead of me to get there first. And if I went for a walk outside and the cats would follow me, what do you think he would do? No. He would get in front of me because he had to be the leader. So he would figure out where I was going, and he would lead me in that direction. So that's why I have videos of him on Instagram. It's like snow on the ground, blowing wind, and he's out there trotting, taking me out into the field. Like, he couldn't even care. Like, he was just so brave. And I really loved him for that. I remember one time it was so windy and the wind was so cold, but he went with me on my walk. I was like, you okay? And so we went out to the rocks, and then we're coming back, and the wind was worse. The wind's worse when you come back. And I remember him hissing at the wind, like, oh. And it was funny because we're just walking, he's going and hissing at the wind because he was just so irritated by this strong wind. It was blowing his fur back, and you could see the white of his skin under the black fur. So I picked him up, I put him in my jacket, and he really liked that. So yeah, it was really cute. Oh yeah, he used to hiss at things that he just didn't like. I remember, he used to like climbing on this one board. It was like a square block diagonal to a fence. And one time he climbed up, he got to the top, and I think it like turned while he was on it. And so then he was hanging, but his paw was caught underneath this board, holding him in place. And he was hissing. All I heard was and I came over and I was, oh my God, you know, I freed him out and he was okay. But yeah, he just liked to hiss over and over again. That was his little reaction. And I remember one of my absolute favorite memories of him was when I was up at the garage. It's this big, massive garage with cars and tractors and stuff in it. And he was down at the barn. And because he's like black on this landscape, I could see him. And I said, Speeds! I yelled, and of course my voice carried, and I could see him turn. And then he just came running up. So he had to run under the fence and across the field and across the road and up the hill and through the grass. And he was just running and pouncing and leaping, coming to me. And I could see the grass against his chest as he was running. It was just so sweet. And I was like, man, he's so strong. He's so beautiful. He's so athletic. Oh, and I used to just give him compliments all the time. I used to have this running compliments that I would give him. I would say, oh, you're so handsome, and anyone who doesn't like it is just jealous. Like, this is why I tell you guys that I have cats and I don't have pets, because if I had children, they'd be so messed up. It's like the things I say to my cats. So that's, like I said to you guys, this is why I don't have children. But I would say, yeah, anyone who doesn't like you, they're just jealous. You're just the most handsome one. You're the best one. I'd have like the most crazy narcissistic children, right? So yeah, so this is what I just tell him everything good about himself. And I swear he knew what it meant. He liked it. He knew that he was special and beautiful, and he liked basking in being special and being the leader. And he was really popular. I used to call him Mr. Friendly Tail because his tail was very expressive. he didn't just carry it. It kind of had a life of its own, and it would be expressive. So he would go, and because he was the most popular in the litter, he would go to the other cats, and he would approach them, and he'd kind of put his tail around their shoulder, kind of like someone who would come and like grab you around the shoulder. But he used to do that to everyone, go up to them and put his tail around their shoulders. And he was so cute. When he came back from the vet, I didn't understand. The vet didn't tell me this, and I haven't done this before. But he was still coming off of the drugs, and so he was acting like he was high or drunk or something. And it was cute watching the effect it was having on him, because it was like his brain was just firing off the things that he knew I liked. Which was really cute and funny. He was just like giving me hugs. Oh yeah, I taught him how to give hugs. And so he would like go up on the we had this like, I don't know how to describe it, but like a bench at the kitchen table, and it had like it's like a bench you could sit on, and then on the top had kind of like a resting area, so he'd jump up there, and then I would touch my chest, and he would reach up, stretch, and put his hands on my shoulders or on my chest. And I was giving a hug. And one time I was standing there, and then David came beside me too, and he goes, do you think he'll give me a hug? And I could tell he felt kind of, I don't know, insecure, or like he wouldn't. And so I pointed at David. I said, give him a hug, dude, give him a hug. And you know what Speedy did? He reached over with one hand and like just like put it on his chest. And we were all like, oh, like we're just so touched. Well, he's just so charming, and he just wins everyone over. It is funny too, because it's like he doesn't really know what he's doing. He just knows what to do because the humans think it's cute. So it was like super cute. Oh yeah, I have another funny story about one time when David came and showed me the butter from the kitchen, and it had 2 little vampire marks in it. Well, no, it had 2 vampire marks, and then between the vampire marks were like these little tiny indentations. So it was basically like the imprint of a cat's mouth biting. So that must have been an interesting experience for him, just like bite into the butter and be like, okay, now what? And then just take your teeth out because it didn't work. So that was kind of funny and kind of cute. What else? What other stories do I have of Speeds? It was just my beautiful son. I remember when we were away for Christmas, and David's cousin and his family were staying there. They had like a handful of loud children who like to like grab at pets and carry them around and just be no comment. So anyway, when we came back, the cats didn't know we were back, and they were hiding. They weren't acting like they normally did. They were hiding, And I came back. I said, Speeds. I had to call him a couple times. And he heard me, and he came running. And he jumped in the van window, and he was all loving up on me. He was so happy that I came back. And actually, yeah, it's a shitty memory, but I ended up spending the night in the van at the house. There were a number of nights I spent in the van by myself and not sleeping in the room with my husband. And that night, even though I have allergies, I let Speed stay with me because he just really cheered me up and kept me company. And eventually he got annoying, so eventually you know how cats are. He was being cute, and he would sleep with me for a while, and then he would be annoying. So I was like, let him go. What else? Oh yeah, there was that one night that I found the hen's bane. If you guys watch my Instagram, you remember that weird day when I found the hen's bane in the field, and I found a snake pit, and I was just out on that farm under nature in the sky. I was having so many intense spiritual experiences. I swear that that place was some kind of spiritual vortex. I also think it was like the planetary, the time about what was going through on the planet. Like all these light codes were coming in. There were all kinds of transitions and shifts, and it was really affecting me. And yeah, I was just feeling super weird that night. I actually let Speeds sleep in the bed that night in the house. Don't tell anybody, because we're both allergic to cats. But I was feeling so lonely. I was feeling a little bit scared. So yeah, he just stayed with me that night, which is really cute. And he actually slept through the night, which was surprising. And yeah, in the morning I had to vacuum, triple vacuum, wash everything, whatever. But it was nice to have him there. He had a crush on Fluffy, which, of course, Fluffy was the grumpiest, meanest Gill. She was my cute little feisty Gill, the tortoiseshell. Yeah, and she was mean to everyone, but she had a soft spot for Speeds. She put up with him, but in my opinion, she gave him the friend zone. He thought she was so beautiful, and he loved Fluffy, but no, Fluffy is a grumpy lady. She gave him the friend zone. Sometimes he would have dreams about Fluffy, I'm sure. And yeah, she would sit there, it was a perfect dynamic from the Women Who Love Bitches book, or the Men Who Love Bitches book. Fluffy and Speeds. Anyway, I think that's everything I could think to say about him for tonight. I have no idea if anyone will listen to this, if it's boring or not. You have to be like a cat person. Like, I could talk about cats and their intricate personalities and traits for like a very long time. So that's what I'm using this channel for. No one's forcing anyone to listen to this. And yeah, that's all I've got. Thanks for listening.